Hey, welcome back. You are watching TTBurger Game Reviews here on YouTube. I'm your host Tony, and we got the lights turned back on here because the Burger Wing Spookfest is over, and we're now in the month of November, the middle of November. I apologize that there hasn't been a review lately, just had stuff going up on real life and was busy, didn't have a chance to get the next video up, but now that changes today. Today we're on TTBurger Game Review episode 299, part 1 of one part. Just one more main episode to reach the 300th episode. Got something big planned for that, and I will keep you updated as time goes on. Today, we're going to talk about those four turtles. Those four radioactive turtles called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, the Ninja Turtles, oh man, I knew about these since I was a kid. I grew up with the toys, the action figures, the cartoon, the movies, and everything, as you can tell. I got the movies right here. Yeah, this is the first four movies, including the awful third movie and that awful 2011 movie. Yep, it's right here with all the cool accessories and stuff. And the cartoon was amazing. Loved all the stuff. I didn't really read the comics much, but I grew up with all the merchandise. Like me and my friends had so many Ninja Turtle stuff for our bikes. We had the figures. Like we had like stuff on our walls in our bedrooms. And we had like stuff to put on your TVs and everything, And we had the little figures, like where you like the little baseball ball miniature one stuff. We had the bus, the van, turtles. Yeah, if we want to talk about a lot of toys I collected, it was Ninja Turtles for sure. A lot of them are in stores, so I don't really know what happened to them. But I remember like all the figures I had the pizzas, like I remember like getting a soccer one. My dad got me a soccer Raphael when I was in soccer, and I had all fun with a lot of this stuff. I remember seeing the movies. The movies were great, except for the third and the fourth one. But I remember seeing them. They were fun. They were fun for sure. And the cartoon, I didn't watch all the cartoon because being busy with school and everything, didn't have a chance to watch all the episodes. But I watched a majority of them, and I loved it definitely. And every year for my birthday and every year for Christmas, I got at least one or two turtle action figures, or got some for a gift from my dad. I think we got them all. They were all over the place. My favorite Ninja Turtles were Leonardo and Donatello. I know people like Michelangelo and Raphael, but I was more fan of Leonardo and Donatello. Leonardo was the leader and Donatello was the smart one. Yeah, Michelangelo was funny, and Raphael had like the reason attitude one, but still, I like the other two better. And today, we're going to be talking about a collection based on Ninja Turtle games. This game has 13 Ninja Turtle games in one package here, and this was a great collection of package here. As you look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowbunga collection. It was on August 3rd, 2022 for the PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PS5, Nintendo Switch. It was on Steam and everything. This thing was all over the place. I don't have a PS5, so we're looking at this one. But whatever version you get, you're in for a treat here, definitely. Now, when it comes to collection games like this, they are either a hit or miss depending on the games, on the consoles, and more. There have been a lot of Sonic collection games, a lot of Mega Man collection games, Mortal Kombat collection games, Street Fighter collection games, and more. But this was the first time we got a Ninja Turtle collection with the first 13 games in one package, including some extra content and some options to tweak with the games, and how did that fare out? The answer is a fantastic collection of games. I will admit though, some of the games in the package here I was not a fan of. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowbunga collection still offers a lot of content to keep you occupied. In this review here, we'll be talking about the games first, and then the options afterwards, and the extras, and I'll mention all the games first and talk about them each individually, and what I thought about them, then I'll give a rating as a whole on the package itself when I finish up here. The list of the games follows here. We have the arcade games, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time. After that we get the Super Nintendo games, which are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Then we have the Sega Genesis games, which are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist, which is Turtles in Time with some differences that we'll talk about later on. And then we have the Genesis port of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, which has some differences from the Super Nintendo version, which we'll also talk about later on. After that we have the Nintendo games, starting off with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, at least before the arcade game and everything. Then we have the Nintendo port of the arcade game titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. After that we have the third game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the Manhattan Project, and finally Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, the NES version. Then we have the Gameboy games where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Fall of the Foot Clan, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Back from the Sewer, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Radical Rescue. I mentioned earlier the options section here you can tweak from each game, like getting rid of the slowdown in the original version, like adding color swaps, moving the borders, and making the screen bigger. You also have filter sets to make the quality look like the arcade machines, and add TV filters on them and everything. You also have a level set option. You want to just jump to level for the game, and then there you go. Whatever thing you choose, you will enjoy them. You also have save states, choosing number of lives, the arcade games, which is very cool. You have a rewind feature that you use your advantage if you die, or etc. For me, I chose to keep the same with a slowdown and everything else intact, because you're probably wondering why I did that. The answer is simple. It does not bother me much, because that's how they originally ran when they first released. And I know it's weird, but that's just me, everybody. Some of the games here have online play as well, but it can be hard to play online because some people just don't want to play online, and you can't find a match, which can be somewhat disappointing, but it's still functional though. In this review of all the games, I'll be playing as Leonardo and Donatello for the most part. They're my favorite turtles equally. I know people like Michelangelo and Raphael more, but I'm the opposite. But getting back on track here, let's get started. First, let's talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the arcade game released on October 11th, 1989. Like, it was almost a year after I was born. The game holds up really well to this day. We have a simple side-scroller beat-em-up action game up to 4 players can play. The controls are very smooth and fluid, where newcomers will have no trouble picking this game up for the first time. The arcade game is solid, including all the foot soldiers, you have the boss fights, and all these levels you play through. It's a great experience. The game is fast and enjoyable, especially with the funny lines the turtles say like, "I shell shot! Pizza time!" And the graphics and sounds look great for a game released in 1989. They're so old school you'll never get tired of it. This is one of 2 games you can get as many lives as you want by pressing the start button. The game here has a couple balances where you will die a lot and enemies block most of your attacks, but this is what makes it enjoyable. Of course, you cannot forget the theme song at the beginning of the game too. Pizza power, turtles and half shell turtle power. For this game here, you have some enhancement settings here, such as giving easy mode, which of course you know what it is. You have God mode. Also, no explanation. You have the option of removing the penalty bombs in the levels if that will frustrate you. You have nightmare mode that doubles the number of enemies. Think you can keep up with the action? Then finally, you have a difficulty selection and the lives continuous selection and everything. I should point out here that most of the games in the collection have these enhancements, so I'll not be naming each enhancement for each game, as most of them are similar to one another. Overall, the arcade game is short and sweet, definitely one of my top picks on one of the best arcade games ever, and one of the best games in this collection. Now we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtles in Time for the arcade released in March 1991. If you enjoyed the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, you'll definitely enjoy this one as well, if not more so. This time we have an improved story here. Last time the story was, rescue April O'Neil, take down the foot soldiers, defeat the bosses, and call it a day. This time for Turtles in Time, the story starts with April O'Neil reporting for Liberty Island when Krang flies in and steals the Statue of Liberty. The Turtles are watching when this happens, and Shredder hijacks the airwaves and laughs at the Turtles. The game starts off in New York City, the Big Apple, at 3 AM. Then Shredder transports the Turtles back in time to start off the days in the Old West, the pirate days, even the future, where he thinks the Turtles will never stop his plans. Sorry to disappoint you, Shredder, but they always follow your plans. This is the first time we got the arcade version playable on the home console. Back in 2010 we got the reshelled version of the game, which was a remake with updated graphics and updated gameplay, and it was terrible. It felt too wonky, it was too easy, the graphics were just not very good, the sound was awful, it was a huge slap as people wanted the original arcade version of the game. Thankfully you cannot play it anymore because they moved in the PSN store and the Xbox Live Marketplace. It failed so badly they took it off the online stores. However, this version is the go-to version, it's fast-paced and enjoyable. One thing I enjoyed about this game is the cool moves that Turtles have they use with their weapons. See what they do with the enemies, like slash them, whack them back and forth with the katanas or the bow or the electricals or the sai. Watch them scream is fun and memorable. The graphics and sounds to help this day, especially that kick-ass opening song Pizza Power. That song was also used by YouTube user Big L2AK6 back in the day. Also, the funny lines from the Turtles are back once again, especially the my toes in the sewers line and oh, who put the lights out and everything. Like the first arcade game, you can press the start button to give you a max number of lives, and the enhancements for this game are here and just as fun. This is, in my opinion, the best game in the collection. Next up, let's go to the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time, which was unnamed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. Turtles in Time was a year later, 1992. The Super Nintendo version is actually pretty good. It comes very close to the arcade version. The graphics are great, the sound still holds up really well too, even the sound can be a bit muffled, and you don't hear the Pizza Power song, but that's still okay. Sure, there's not really much voice setting, but that's understandable because it's a Super Nintendo game. The controls are nice and smooth. The Super Nintendo version also has differences in levels along with some new enemies as well. This is a great point, you can have a friend to play with up to 2 players here. The differences in levels and enemies make this enjoyable as the arcade version. I just recommend it, despite small issues. Next we have the Super Nintendo version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtle Fire, which ends September 4th, 1993. Now this is a fighting game with the turtles and the enemies and all that stuff. Now this game, I do not like it. Sure has an interesting concept, the turtles fighting each other and other enemies, but this game is unbalanced. It's very hard to pull a special move, and pulling out is super aggressive of using the same moves over and over again. Sometimes the opponent can be on the stupid side where they just let you beat them to a pulp. The controls a little on the stiff side, which makes it hard to pull special moves. There's a story here, interesting, I'll say that much. You can play as the bad guys in the non-story modes, but overall this game is not very good. The only good aspects are the graphics, the sound with the voice clips, and the pressure along with multiplayer and online play here. The game, though, is not very fun. There are better fighting games out there for the system and better Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. Now, moving to the Sega Genesis games. Here we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist, released on December 11th, 1992. Now, the Hyperstone Heist is an enhanced version of Turtles in Time with some differences here. The story is pretty much the same as last time, so there's no need to explain that aspect. The differences here is that the level layouts are different, which is a nice feature, especially for gamers who own both Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis back in the day. There are differences in sound effects due to the hardware capabilities of the Sega Genesis. Also, as well as this version has the ability to dash and throw enemies at the screen. I actually like this version better than the Super Nintendo version because I like the different levels you play to, and the controls here were better for me. The graphics are excellent, but the sound is not the best though. I guess you decide between which Super Nintendo version and the Genesis version, which one is better. Not on your arcade version, that's up to you. Next up on the list, we have the Sega Genesis version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, released September 4th, 1993, the same day as the Super Nintendo version. Now, I will say this, the Sega Genesis version of Tournament Fighters is worse than the Super Nintendo version. This game is broken as hell, and I mean that completely. It is impossible to defeat your enemies because the opponent is so overpowered more so than last time. They will beat you without blinking an eye. There's no story mode here this time, and there are modes missing as well. Sure, one plus you can play as April O'Neil and Casey Jones here, which is a nice feature. The graphics and sound have been tweaked a bit here. The game, however, is still not very good because the opponent is broken and overpowered. I can only recommend this game to hardcore fans of the series and other people who are already own this on Super Nintendo. Just stick with that version instead. But if you want to check it out on the Sega Genesis, you don't have the Super Nintendo, just check it out, but proceed with caution. Now we move into the original Nintendo era. We look at the very first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game released in June of 1989. Now this game, people love it or people hate it. It was one of those games that, you know, it was top of the list and bottom of the list. I was one of the people that was in the middle. I loved certain aspects of this game, but also hated certain aspects of this game. Now I know this game was based around the comics, not the cartoon, which I have no problem with. It's cool to see enemies that were not in the cartoon, but to the comics. The game is an action platform, and I like that. The graphics are pretty good for an 8-bit console. However, the game has aged terribly, mainly due to the difficulty of the controls and the platforming. This game is also one player only, just to let people know who have not played this game. There are also some other problems too, which were already mentioned by James Wolf, a Video Game Nerd in his review, so check that out. I still recommend this game. It has a love-or-hate aspect to it, so I put it in the middle while recommending it still. Next up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which is December of 1990. Now this game is a pretty good port of the arcade game. Sure, it's not going to look as good as the original version due to the hardware builds in the Nintendo system, but I still enjoy it. It's enjoyable. I do like the original arcade version better, but it's still worth it here. Sure, you can only put it to 2 players, but that's okay. That's all that could be done back then unless you own a special multi-port for Nintendo, but this game was not compatible with it. One of the memorable features of the version was the 2 extra levels included. These levels are pretty cool, especially the snowy New York level. And I like snow levels, and you know, people know me, know that I love snow levels, especially when playing Star Wars games and going on Novera and Mass Effect and everything. Snow levels are my thing. The graphics are good and the controls are nice and smooth. Also, the sound's pretty good with 8-bit sound. I like this game here, not much to claim on here or anything. Next up on the list, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project, released on February of 1992. This game for me is the best of the original Nintendo games released on the system. I feel they made a lot of improvements here. The controls are the same as before. The main difference here is now you have a toss attack you can perform by pressing down on the D-pad and pressing the attack button. I use this move so much it became one of my favorite parts of the game. Also, the story here is pretty interesting. The Turtles are on vacation in Florida and they are watching the news, and as April is broadcast in New York, she mentions that Shredder's escaped. He takes April hostage and has turned the entire district of Manhattan into a floating island, hence the term Manhattan Project. Shredder then challenges the Turtles to stop and find his lair. And you know, sorry Shredder, once again, your plans fail. I like the story very much, somewhat new for its time. The graphics are improved and the sound is great. The music is so good you find yourself humming the tunes while playing. I know I did. Also new features when your character dies, you can switch them and the number of lives they have too. I think this is the best game of the bunch of the Nintendo system. But lastly for the Nintendo system here is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for this version here from the Nintendo. Released on February 1994. Honestly at this point, what was the reason to port this for the original Nintendo system? The Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were already out. Sure, some people did not have either console, but this was still not good. The other 2 versions were already not that great anyway, especially the Genesis version, so porting this to a last-gen console was pointless. This version was the worst of the 3. You thought the Genesis version had horrible AI and everything like that? This one is even worse, and the controls suck in a more balance, and half the content's missing as well. But for me, I may not like the game, but I'd rather play the other two versions, even the Genesis version. Now we go to the Game Boy games, and I will admit, I did not like any of the games on the Game Boy. Not just because I'm not a fan of portable gaming, but because the games were slow, they were stiff, they were boring, and I'm going to talk about them next. Starting us off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of Foot Clan on August of 1990. Well, we have a side-scrolling action beat 'em up on the Game Boy where you pick a turtle and fight. You lose the turtle, they get captured. I'm sorry, people who like this game, this was not my cup of tea here. Sure, you can mess with the colors of the Game Boy Color. The overall experience to me, in my opinion, this was boring. I only recommend it to hardcore fans who want to play the game on the go. Because, you know, man, if you want to find a cure for insomnia, this is it right here. Next up for the Game Boy games, the sequel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Back from the Sewers. Nice name there. Released on December 1st, 1991. Once again, it's the same as the first Game Boy game. You pick a turtle, you go through levels to the end, fighting the enemies. Not much has changed here with the graphics and sound, which was a common thing for handheld games back in the day. Once again, when a turtle gets captured, you can't play them until you rescue them. Also, you can switch between the color and black and white for the Game Boy settings. But that's it here. That's it! It sucks, just like the first one! For the final Game Boy game here, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Radical Rescue, released in November of 1993. Now this time they go for a more radical Metroid style of gameplay here where you have big areas, multiple paths, you must find the right path in the right direction. You can only play as Michelangelo in the beginning because the Turtles with April O'Neil and Splinter have been captured by Shredder. Yeah. You can't play as Leonardo or Donatello at the beginning, those are my two favorite turtles, but what can you do? Each turtle has their own ability. Michelangelo can hover with his nunchaku, Leonardo can drill the floor with his katana, Raphael can hide in a shell and go to the rooms that are too small, and Donatello can stick to walls and climb them. While this game is better than the other two Game Boy games, I'm still not happy with it. If you guys like the Game Boy games, hey, more power to you, I respect your opinions. Me, I did not like them, however. Still do not to this day. They're boring. After that, we got through all the games here. We gotta talk about the in-game museum of extras that we can look at here. The extras include unseen development art, along with sketches and game design material art for each of the games in the collection. You can view art from the manuals, you can look at the boxes for most of the games in the collection, which is really cool, you know. I don't own the boxes, but still, hey, it's cool to see them on my screen. And then menus is really cool too, especially that rock music in the background. I should also mention, you could choose from the Western and the Japanese versions of the game, except for the arcade version of Total Time and original Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters. And that's pretty cool there too, see some of the differences they have there. And you know, that's pretty cool they included it. You also have a watch option where you can watch a playthrough of the game. That's pretty cool, but I'd rather play the game instead of watching it. This is still a really cool feature though. During the gameplay, you can rewind the game up to 30 seconds just to get you screw up somewhere, and this will become handy for the original Nintendo game. Also with the enhancements as well, you know, I talked about them already, but you know, it's pretty cool to have them. Overall, this was a great collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles despite some of the small problems it has, but still a fun overall package with collection and everything. Now, so our TTBurger pros and cons chart to give this collection a score here. For the TTBurger pros, this is the first ever Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection with all the classic games in one package. We have a collection of the arcade games, all the home console games, and more. The arcade games, as well most of the home consoles, hold up really well for the most part. Lots of cool enhancements and features that make the game more fun and enjoyable. You can either play the Western version or Japanese versions of most of the games. The menu system is very cool and user-friendly with that kick-ass music in the background. The in-game museum is a very nice feature to have with some cool-ass looking extras. Overall, great experience for both gamers and fans of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For the TTBurger cons, we only have one here. Some of the games in the collection of the Game Boy games and Tournament Fighters are not much fun to play. But that's the only complaint I have with it though. Final thoughts? You should definitely pick this up. I know I have the PlayStation 4 version though, but you know, whatever version you get, you'll be in for a treat as well. And that's what I gotta say about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowbunga collection. So what score do I give it here? With that one complaint I have with it, with not all the games being great, I gotta take some points. But only I'm gonna take a half a point off, which gives our score a 9.5 out of 10. It's an excellent collection to have, and I recommend you all pick this up. Now I know there are those PS2 Ninja Turtle games based on the 2003 cartoon and everything like that, but I never saw that cartoon, and what I heard about it wasn't as good as the original. And the games, you know, I kind of grew out of the Ninja Turtles when I turned 14, so I just didn't really care to get them. And I heard those games are not even that great anyway, so that's just me there. But that's it for episode 299. Next episode, what will be next? Well, there'll probably either be a remaster game review next, or the third episode will be next, depending on how much I get done with that. But stay tuned. We got some big stuff coming on the way, everyone, so be on the lookout for that. It's Tony, peacing out. Harry and Steel in the next video. Take care, everybody. Cowabunga!